Hello everyone, I'm the Canadian Gaming Penguin. So, the letter from the producer live, part 61, was on Friday, November 27th, 2020. For those that don't know what this is, and even for those that do know, the letter from the producer live is essentially announcements and other basic details for future patches or content coming to Final Fantasy XIV. This is presented via director and producer of Final Fantasy XIV, Naoki Yoshida, also known as Yoshi P. In this case, the live letter was discussing what is coming in the patch 5.4 cycle, and I'm sure that what most of you are wondering is, when is the patch? Well, I'm not going to tell you. I jest. Patch 5.4 will be coming on December 8th, 2020. Woohoo! And that's where I'm going to leave this video because that's probably the only thing that some of you wanted to know. No? You wanted to know more? Yay! Right. As I expected, quite a bit of the information that was discussed during the live letter were things that we already knew about, while there were other things that we didn't know about, such as an awesome new mount, which I will talk about later on in this video. Well, let's get right into the letter. The letter from the producer live, part 61, began with a new trailer for the patch 5.4 cycle. I won't be dissecting the video itself, nor really sharing what my speculation on the content is in the video. If you are interested in seeing the video yourself, you will be able to find the video in English and various other languages on the Final Fantasy XIV YouTube channel, or by looking at the special site, which now includes the trailer. I will leave a link to the special site in the description below. Note, this trailer will contain spoilers. Now that said, as a summary of this video, while it does show some things that are likely part of the main scenario quest, I would say that most of the video shows things related to the Save the Queen storyline and the Eden Raid series. Anyways, after the trailer was finished, we learned that patch 5.4 will be coming on Tuesday, December 8th, 2020, as I already mentioned. We also learned that this was going to be a heavy patch, so to speak, and thus there would be 24-hour maintenance. Meaning, on December 7th, you will not be able to play the game, so plan accordingly. As a reminder, the Yokai Watch event will be ending when the patch comes, thus you have until the maintenance begins on December 7th to finish the event, or at least work on whatever part of the event you wish to work on. The event will likely come back as it has before, so don't stress too much if you're not able to finish right now. Anyways, back to the letter. The letter continued by recapping what was talked about in the previous live letter. Anything that was mentioned during this live letter that I went into details in the last live letter video, I will not be going into details in this video. If you'd like to check out my summary of the last letter from the producer live, there should be a card on screen. I will make note if something was mentioned in the last letter from the producer live video, which may have had more details about that certain thing. Moving on. After the recap, we moved on to the first topic, so let's do that, too. Except for one more thing. I will note that most of this is not in the order that was discussed in the live letter, as some of it appeared in the summary while other information appeared later on. With that said, now let's get to it! First things first, new main scenario quests. This is something we already knew as it was announced in the last live letter. This will be the first main scenario quests post Shadowbringers, meaning it's pre-whatever the next expansion is, which is currently unknown at this time. However, it could also be known in a few months, which I will get into later. In relation to the main scenario quest, we have a new dungeon, Materia's Relic. I went into a bit more information about this in the last video. Part of the trailer also appeared to show parts of this new dungeon. I am really looking forward to getting into this dungeon. There is also a couple of images for this on the special site as well. Next, we were told once again that there were the Sorrow of Werlyt quests coming. We got our first look at part of the storyline in the trailer. I won't go into details as I consider this spoiler-esque. In relation to this, there will be a new normal and extreme trial, Castrum Marinum. Interestingly, the Castrum Marinum is an area that should be familiar to us from A Realm Reborn. I won't say where though, because I'm a mean penguin. Mwahaha! We were able to see a portion of this new trial, along with some of the mechanics, and all I have to say is that the size of the boss compared to Lolafel's is extremely amusing to me. We also learned that in patch 5.45 there will be a Save the Queen update, specifically regarding the Resistance weapon. Additionally, there will be new field content for the Bosnian Southern Front in patch 5.5. In patch 5.4x, there will be a new large-scale duty, Delubrum Reginae, if I said that name correctly. A note, this patch is 5.4x, as they weren't certain which part of the 5.4 patch cycle this will be released. Anywho, the normal version of Delubrum Reginae will be for 24 players with no role requirements for matching. This version must be completed to complete the Save the Queen story quests. The Savage version will be for 48 players, and players will have to form parties before entering. For both versions, players must speak to an NPC in Gangos, if I said that right, to enter. Additionally, there will be a Lost Finds catch available at the entrance of the duty. Lost actions and gear effects limited to Bosnia can be used. Each player will receive rewards from treasure coffers. With the Savage version, lost actions will be needed. Additionally, some revive actions will be restricted. Interestingly, the Party Finder will be expanded so that you can form a full 48-player party for the Savage version. With patch 5.45, resistant weapons will have an upgrade, more on that in a bit. Thus, if you struggle to complete the Savage version, then this may help with that. Keep in mind that the normal version must be completed in order to actually be able to upgrade your resistance weapon further. After players have completed all 5.45 Save the Queen quests, players will be able to upgrade the resistance weapons. There will be 2 steps to the upgrade process, the latter of which will allow players to freely customize the secondary attributes of the weapon. That also means that this step is longer than the previous steps. We were reminded that there is a new raid dungeon coming, both a normal and a savage version. This relates to the Eden storyline. In order to unlock this new raid, the 5.3 main scenario quests must be completed. This will also conclude the storyline. Yoshi P demonstrated part of the first boss fight for this new raid dungeon, and it was rather amusing. There are new mechanics with this raid. With what we saw, I think they are really interesting in a good way. I am looking forward to eventually trying this out once I finally get the courage to try new raids. Anyways, moving on. There is a new Unreal trial coming, the Naval. We saw a demonstration of the Unreal trial, and by what I saw, it looks to be the same as the Extreme version, except that it will be synced to level 80. One key note, yes, if you fall, you will be out of the fight, so watch out for the edge. The Naval Unreal trial will be swapped with the current Unreal trial, meaning once patch 5.4 hits, this Shiva Unreal trial will not be available. So if you want to try to complete it, like me, make sure to do it before then. I do expect Shiva 1 to return, but perhaps with less DPS checks, as other people have been saying. Anyways, with this new Unreal trial, will be new rewards added. Additionally, you will be able to limit your party finders to players who have already cleared the fight. This personally makes me a little nervous about this, as they may limit people who want to just clear it once, but there's no one willing to actually do that with you. I do expect that there will be people still willing to help teach others how this fight goes, but yeah. That said, it should also limit the toxicity, hopefully, that often comes with harder content like this. As long as people don't assume that if someone has cleared it, then they really know what they're doing, as that isn't necessarily true. Anyways, towards the end of the live letter, we were informed that we would be required to complete the Warring Triad storyline from Heavensward in order to continue with a new quest for our Disciple of War and Magic classes and jobs. In 5.0, that is Shadowbringers, there are role quests. After we were done those role quests, for, well, our role, there was a quest for each class or job. Of course, that applies to the classes and jobs related to that role. Anyways, there will be a new quest after that. Before we can do that quest, however, as I mentioned, we are required to have completed the Warring Triad storyline. If you aren't sure if you've done these, the starting quest can be found in Revenant's Toll in Mordona after completing the Heavensward main scenario quest. These quests unlock the Limitless Blue Extreme, Thawcast Thawk Extreme, and the normal and extreme versions of the 3 Containment Bay trials. So if you have these trials unlocked and have the checkmark saying you've done them, you're done them. No da Yoda. Haha. Ahem. We were given more details about what the job adjustments would be in patch 5.4, specifically to Monk. This is something we already knew was happening, but not the specifics. We also didn't know if there were other job changes and the specifics of those, if any. Or at least I didn't know. We'll start with the other jobs first, as it is brief. Not all the jobs will have adjustments to them. We were told that Dragoon, Bard, Scholar, and Red Mage will get slight buffs. The biggest change this patch cycle will be to Monk. Monk changes. The big change with Monk is that Greased Lightning will be changed to a trait rather than a status effect. This trait will level as you level. Thus, there will no longer be an increase to damage dealt, additional actions that were boosted, affected, etc. by Greased Lightning will be adjusted. We were given 3 examples with Form Shift, Tornado Kick, and 6-Sided Star. We were told that Form Shift will now grant a Formless Fist status, which will allow execution of actions regardless of form. Tornado Kick will be able to be used at any time, and that the potency and recast time for the skill will be adjusted. 6-Sided Star will now increase movement speed for a short duration. Yoshi P demonstrated a bit of a 5.4 Monk, but as he is a novice at the Monk job, he didn't show us this for very long. From what I could see, the movement and actions of the Monk seem a lot quicker, and it was also pointed out by some people that we could see some of the other skill changes, which I won't get into right now. Mentioning other skills, however, any of the skills that would have their potencies increased or affected in some way in relation to Greased Lightning will be getting a boost to their potency, etc., which I sort of mentioned already. We will know the exact changes when we have access to the patch notes. Of course, we will also be able to see the changes ourselves if we play the Monk job on December 8th. Anyways, as announced in the last live letter, we were reminded that there will be an update to Blue Mage. The Blue Mage update will occur with patch 5.45. We also get to see the new outfit for Blue Mage. It looks awesome! If you want to take a look at it yourself, it's up on the special site, as you can see, which is where I'm looking at it right now. Also, my apologies if you consider that a spoiler. I really do like the look of this, and I wanted to show it off, especially this part. I really like how this looks. Anyways, something that will also help with Blue Mage is the change to the Content Finder settings that will now be available. Note, I'm not sure if Duty Finder is changing to the name to Content Finder or something. Anyways, under the Content Finder settings, Undersized and Synced are now separate options, meaning you can have an undersized party while still being synced to a duty. Meaning if you are a Blue Mage and are trying to acquire a skill, this will be much easier to do now. There is one other thing of interest in regards to the Content Finder and one of the settings it has, but I will get into that later on in this video. During the live letter, Yoshi P demonstrated how the bulk advanced Materia melding would work. Of course, when he was demonstrating this, he had a lot of luck, and it was amusing seeing his reaction because of that. Anyways, this process was shown to work when you want to overmeld something, as there is no point of this function to work with regular melding, because there is a 100% chance for a meld to work when it's regular melding. Anyways, with overmelding, after you have made the selection to use the bulk melding method, it will go through the selected stack of materia until it is successful. This process will be done instantaneously. One other nice thing about this feature is that if you don't want to use all of your materia at once, you can make smaller stacks of them and then watch as those stacks diminish. Haha. Next, we move on to the Shifting Oubliettes of Gaia, whose names I partly butchered, a new treasure map dungeon. This dungeon will work in the same way as a Stormblood dungeon, in which you have this key that is used 5 times and then watch a roulette. If successful, you will exit the dungeon with some awesome loot. I didn't make it sound exciting, but it is pretty cool to look, and we saw it demonstrated to us, but of course Yoshi P was not successful in his attempt, to his woe as well. But anyways, and I can't say if I've ever done this myself, as in the Stormblood version, at least not to memory. What was me? Moving on to crafting and gathering related content. Crafting and gathering actions that are less frequently used will be adjusted. As mentioned in the last live letter, we were informed that there will be a new crafting condition added for certain expert recipes. I went more into details in the other video, and the fish eyes would function differently. Also went into more details about that in the other video. We were also reminded that the elevation of gathering points will be shown on the minimap, which I am really happy about, as I stumble over my words. We were also given more details of what the collectible and ethereal reduction changes would be. For botanist and miner, items that are collectibles will always be gathered as a collectible. I am super happy about this change because sometimes when I would find a special node, I didn't know if an item was a crafting item or if it should be collected as a collectible item. Plus, it also helps if you forget your glove, which probably won't exist anymore. The glove, that is. The items that the House of Splendors requested, along with the expert deliveries, have changed. Thus, players should note that there is a chance that the collectibles gathered prior to patch 5.4 may not be accepted. Additionally, the rewards that may have been granted for their submission may have changed. In combination with this change, Wear has been removed and actions that increased collectability have been revamped. Players will now need to be mindful to the remaining integrity of a node. In order to gather collectibles more efficiently, adjustments have been made to ensure higher gathering and perception attributes. As for the ethereal reduction changes, as I don't really understand what this is, I will be just reading off the English notes that were provided to us on this slide during the live stream. Quote, the location and number of ethereal gathering points in each area has been adjusted. The value, no longer ranked based on purity, will now yield a greater variety of items based on collectability. The number of items yielded by ethereal reduction has been adjusted. End quote. If that means anything to anyone, there you go. I don't know. I know I've seen ethereal nodes before, but yeah, I haven't done that type of gathering really, so I'm not sure what the whole point of it is. I'm assuming these are good changes at any rate. Anyways, ocean fishing will also be seeing some additional routes added. One of these routes seems to be traveling near Hullbreaker Isle, which is really cool. The other one, I'm not sure where it is, but it looks like it's near Idleshire. I assume that based on the Shire-like structure that was shown in one of the teaser pictures we were shown. Another really cool thing about ocean fishing is that there has been solo missions added. They didn't really go into details of what exactly that means, so we'll have to find out when the patch is out. The fourth and final phase of the Ishgardian restoration will begin on patch 5.41. With this, the Sky Builder rankings will reopen. New items will count towards players' seasonal goals, and the top-ranked crafters and gatherers will receive the same title as before, but with different achievements. Finally, this will be the final ranking. Thus, if you wish to obtain one of these titles, this is the final chance to get them. Good luck! With this final phase, there is going to be a monument constructed on each world, also known as server, based on the crafter class that scores the most based on the ranking score on that server. That is, the crafting class with the highest combined score on a server will have their tool as the monument. So if you want a hammer for blacksmiths, or maybe an anvil, then work on blacksmiths. This will be interesting to see which class wins on each server. Also note, the monument is only for aesthetics. In patch 5.45, we will have a Skysteel tool update. There will be effects of the shiny nature during the crafting process and will be different to the effects that are seen when drawing a tool and weapon. I still need to catch up with the Skysteel's tool, so once I get there, I'm looking forward to see this in person. During the live letter, a Triple Triad tutorial was demonstrated. We were also given the details of what additions are being added to the minigame, along with some quality of life changes. One of these changes, which is something I'm super happy about, is that the card list is being revamped. We will now be able to see which cards we do not have and a hint of how to obtain them, which is so much easier than teleporting everywhere to find NPCs that you haven't yet defeated or have been able to obtain all the cards from them. As I sound very, very robotic when I say that. It was a very tiresome task. One which I have not yet completed. Another change, and that is a pretty big one, is that everyone will have the same limitation of what cards can be in their decks, meaning everyone will have no restrictions on how many 1 through 3 star cards they have in their decks. The limitation of 1 4-star card or higher will remain. Previously, players were required to have 30 cards to have no restrictions on 1 to 2 star cards within their deck, with only 1 3-star card or higher allowed. Or 60 cards to have no restrictions on 1 to 3-star cards, with only 1 4-star card or higher card permitted. This is a really nice change in my opinion, because it allows players to get into a competitive playing field immediately. Sort of. Obviously, there's still the importance of learning the game and figuring out their strategy, etc. Another addition to Triple Triad is the addition to a new advanced rule: Draft. Draft will give players randomly provided cards to choose from to build a deck. With this addition, there is a new deck building UI in which players must select from 3 different tiers. The first tier has 3 sets of 2 cards. Players must choose 1 set. The second tier also has 3 sets of 2 cards. Players must choose 1 set. Finally, the third tier has 3 cards. Players must choose 1 card. Once players have made their selections, this is the deck that they will use for the match. Additionally, if entering the new tournament, more on that in a bit, this is the deck that they will use throughout the tournament. Yes, that is correct. There will be a new Triple Triad tournament added to the game. Well, actually there's 2. More on that in a second. This tournament will work differently than the other tournaments that we've known previously. This open tournament is an instanced tournament that works in a similar way to ocean fishing, in that you will be matched with 7 other players for a total of 8 players. Additionally, it will be every 2 hours. Players will have 30 minutes to register for the tournament. If there are less than 8 players registered, the remaining spots will be filled with NPCs. In the open tournaments, the draft rule will always apply. The player who gains the most points after 3 matches will win the tournament. There is a second tournament that has been added: invitational tournaments. These tournaments can be formed at any time by players, with no rewards offered. Of course, you or your friends, free company, etc. can have rewards outside of the tournament itself. That will be up to players' discretion. You are able to form parties to enter the invitational tournaments, like with the open tournament. In the event that there are less than 8 players in the remaining spots, will be filled with the NPCs. Again, also like the open tournament, the player who earns the most points after 3 matches will win the tournament. Additionally, with the invitational tournament, the party leader can set up to 4 advanced rules. I'm looking forward to try out these new tournaments, or at least the open tournaments, haha. If you remember earlier in this video, I mentioned that there was another thing of note in the Content Finder settings. The thing of note, a setting to enter a duty in Explorer mode. That's right, Explorer mode. As a recap, Explorer mode will allow you to freely explore dungeons you've previously completed. Currently, this only applies to dungeons in the 5.x series, so any dungeon in the Shadowbringers expansion. But there will be more dungeons added in the future. With Explorer mode, enemies will not appear and obstacles will be cleared. Additionally, you will be able to use mounts, minions, and fashion accessories while within the dungeons. A note, you will not be able to fly with your mounts in dungeons. Access to each of the different limit breaks will be available via buttons on a little hotbar-like UI, which also includes an option to placing a striking dummy, which will be required in order to use the limit breaks and any other skills. Further, you are able to enter Explorer mode with 3 other players, for a total of 4 players. All 4 of you will be able to access the limit breaks, which means all 4 of you could use your limit breaks at the same time if you wanted to. To navigate more easily in the dungeons, there will be shortcuts that can take you to each of the areas of your choosing. That is, there are options for each of the different areas. While Yoshi P was in one of the dungeons in Explorer mode, we were privy to a couple of new mounts, new minions, and new fashion accessories. The first new mount, which I'm really hoping is the mount we are going to get as part of the Starlight event this year, because it's super cute. See? You might be saying it's just a snowman. Yeah, it's cute, but big deal. Oh ho, but it is not just a snowman, we are inside the snowman. When you're still, you are just a snowman, in disguise of course, but when you're moving around and you hold up the head. Yeah, I know you still might not be impressed, but I find this super cute. I'm also a big fan of the side quest in the Corthus area with the snowman, so there's that. We were also shown a choker blah 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 mount. Yeah, I can't say that name. It looks like this mount, but it's chocolate brown, not green. This mount will be available as a promotional item for Lawson's Chocolate or something like that in Japan. They are looking to have an equivalent type of promotional mount in Europe and North America, so look forward to that. There are additional mounts that will be added with this patch cycle, but we were not shown them. We were then shown some new fashion accessories, the first of which is a new pink parasol. The second, which I have more interest in, is wings. No, you cannot fly with them, but as you move or jump, as was demonstrated to us, the wings move. Really cool. Moving on to the minions. No, not the yellow Tic Tac shaped ones. Although there is a gold minion. Haha. We were shown a couple of minions. The first was a Mora minion, which likely has something to do with the new addition to ocean fishing. The next one was a gold beaver minion. Now, if you're not into Shadowbringer's content yet, that probably doesn't mean much to you yet, but it will. It will. There were additional minions that we could kind of see, but weren't actually shown them. If I recall correctly, there were 4 other minions. We were also shown a number of different new emotes. This one, with this guy right here in the Thaumaturge's Guild, I love that face. Another of the emotes was of your character sweeping with a broom, which was also really cool. A couple of emotes were different eating ones, eating an apple and eating onigiri, aka rice ball, or jelly donuts, I mean, haha. Mentioning jelly donuts, I happened to see a post last Wednesday regarding the jelly donuts, where that quote is from. So seeing people calling out a jelly donut in the Twitch chat during the livestream was extra hilarious to me. Anyways, there were a couple of other emotes, both the same with different colors, painting on the ground, or rather a very big splatter of paint. One was pink and the other blue. There are some housing updates coming as well, most of which is furnishings. We saw images of a flower display where there were flowers in a basket and out on display like they would be at a flower shop. The picture also appeared to have some sort of ivy-type plant. There was also a baking area with a cutting board with dough placed on it and a rolling pin. There was a flour bag and a milk carton. Additionally, there was a baking display with baked goods on display. Really cool. There was also a new exterior to housing. I actually really like the detail of this exterior and apparently pushed the limits of the memory usage and whatnot and technical doo-ha. It is apparently supposed to give the feel of a flower shop, and as I look at it, that does give me that kind of feeling. Finally, we also saw shop displays. These shop displays will be able to hold both gear and armor, and can come pre-filled or empty, in which you can fill them yourself. Really cool. Elegant Tomestones of Revelation will be added to the game. The cap on Tomestones of Allegory has been removed. The maximum limit will remain at 2,000. Additionally, as was announced a few weeks ago, on November 9th, Allagan Tomestones of Phantasmagoria will be removed. Thus, make sure to spend them before patch 5.4. Additionally, if you still have any Allagan Tomestones of Goetia, make sure to exchange them for Allagan Tomestones of Phantasmagoria, and then use those before the patch. If you don't exchange the Goetia Tomestones, they will be removed, and I probably butchered what they're actually called. My bad. Anyways, finally, Allagan Tomestones of Poetics will continue to be available from trials and duties up to level 70, as well as several types of duty relats. As I quote the page that announced this, I will leave a link to this announcement in the descriptions below. Other updates include new violin instruments to the Perform feature, the ability to link quests in the chat window, the latter of which I went into more details in the last live letter video. At the end of the letter from the producer live part 61, we were given information on a bunch of extra events, etc. that will be coming in the future. The first of which is Yoshi P reading the patch 5.4 notes on December 7th at 3 AM Pacific Standard Time, which is 5 AM Central Standard Time and 6 AM Eastern Standard Time. This is during the maintenance time period. A note, this will only be in Japanese. There will be, of course, the English patch notes to read that same day. We were also given information that there will be an announcement showcase on Friday, February 5th, 2021 at 5:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. For those in Europe, etc., this will be Saturday, February 6th at 1:30 GMT, where this will contain a live translation from Japanese to English. Yay! At the same time as this announcement event, there will be a 14-hour broadcast, and this broadcast will only be available in Japanese. 30 minutes into this 14-hour broadcast is when the announcement showcase will begin, and they will be tuning into the announcement showcase. The 14-hour stream begins at 5 p.m. PST, 6 p.m. CST, 7 p.m. EST for those in Europe, etc. This will be on Saturday, February 6th, 2021 at 1 GMT. Time zones. Oi! It is speculated that the Japanese to English announcement will be announcing the next expansion for the game, or at least that's my hope. So, look forward to that. They also announced that there is a Final Fantasy XIV collaboration with Pusheen, with iMessage animated stickers that look super cute. This will be released in early December. Other announcements included the promotional sales for Black Friday in North America and Europe, which ends today, Monday, November 30th, while the Steam sale for the game ends on Tuesday, December 1st. The sale includes the complete edition of the game, and also the Shadowbringer Standard and Collector's Edition. They also gave a bit more information about the Lost and Limited Edition promotional information, etc., which is scheduled to begin on December 15th, and again, this is only for Japan, and this relates to the chocolate-colored mount. Finally, an informal Mahjong tournament with Yoshi P and guests will be broadcast on Tuesday, December 29th, the day after the team goes on holidays. They will, of course, be following any of the health precautions, etc. And that concludes the live letter. So that was quite a bit of stuff. Some of which I didn't show or go over are the gear sets that will be available from the raids and the new Tomestones. There are some images on the special site that you can see in regards to that if you wish to see them. I am personally really looking forward to the new main scenario quests and the Explorer mode feature. I'm hoping that it doesn't take too long to get more dungeons added to the list of exploring. I really want to explore around in some of the Heavensward dungeons, along with some of the Stormblood ones as well, now that I think of it. Is there something that you are excited about? Please leave a comment down below. While you're down there, if you enjoyed this video and or found it helpful, please hit that like button. Please also consider subscribing if you'd like to see more videos like this in the future. I also want to thank the live letter translation team on the Final Fantasy XIV Discord, as some of the information on some of the things that were not entirely clear with just the slides that were provided during the stream itself. You can find the Discord via the Final Fantasy XIV subreddit on, well, Reddit. Funny thing about that. Anyways, that is it for this one. Thanks for watching.